Oh, hello there. I didn't see you. My name's Eldin, and I actually am paying attention today, so I know what is happening. No, I'm not wearing the head because I have no vision, and last time I kind of got caught up on that. So today, we're talking about more dinosaurs. I wrote an intro. I'm trying to do my intros better. So, here we go. Hello and welcome to Dino. And prepare for a dynamite time. That was from last episode. My name is Eldin, and today we're talking all about Canadian dinosaurs. We are currently working through the letter P. Last episode we talked about Parksosaurus. That was last week, so if you haven't seen that, you can check it out. And you'll notice that there's a very important dinosaur I'm not talking about. And there's a couple reasons for that. A, I've talked about this dinosaur. If I talked about it this time, it would be my fourth time. It's Parksosaurus. Love Parksosaurus, so any ducky fans out there, I'm really sorry, but no Parksosaurus. Instead, we're talking about something different. And this is a very unique one in my opinion. So, drum roll. I know I can't really tap on it, but drum roll, I guess, ish. We're talking about Parksosaurus where any. I even had it prepared and everything. So get ready to dig into the history, facts, and more of this incredible dinosaur. So, I'm really excited to talk about this thing because this thing is a one-of-a-kind dinosaur in my opinion. So you might be wondering, what is Parksosaurus wireni? Is it an off-brand medication? Is it an, over-the-counter painkiller? No, actually, it is a dinosaur. And Parksosaurus wireni, pronounced Parksosaurus, and then Warne, which is like Warren, wireni, was a small, and I say small in quotations because it's not really that small. It, in my opinion, would be a big dinosaur. It is, and could be, as tall as Justin. So, I mean, he could be 5'5", he could be 5'8", he could be 6 foot. You don't know. You'll see though after. But it's not a small dinosaur. It's relatively small. It's like saying that, a small elephant. It's not a small elephant. It's still huge. It's still an elephant. So having a small dinosaur is kind of funny for me. It is a non-hadrosaurid ornithopod dinosaur. That sounds like a lot of stuff. So before we hop into what Parksosaurus really is more about, I'll explain what an ornithopod dinosaur is. So the term ornithopod means bird-footed. And it kind of means like the 3 toes with possibly a 4th toe sometimes. But it's kind of like picture a bird's foot, and they're all similar in that sense. Now it's in relation, again, as I said, how their feet and how birds' feet are so similar. And all ornithopods, and there's a bit of a quotations on all, where if we find out more, it'll change everything. But until then, it's all. Share 3 big characteristics. They have, they're all bipedal, so that means they have the ability to walk on hind legs, just 2 legs. Some of them can switch between bipedal and quadrupedal, but kind of depends. The back legs are always longer than the front legs in some way, shape, or form, or the forelimbs and the hind limbs, and they're mostly herbivorous. Now, they could be insectivorous, but we're not entirely sure. And they all have the same body layout. So they're all very similar. No matter what size, they look the same-ish. Big tails, big legs, could walk on 2 legs. Now back to Parksosaurus. It was first discovered by William Parks in 1926. At the time, he named it. Oh man, I should have put this one in phonetics. Thescelosaurus wireni. 11 years later, though, and a few more fossils, Charles Sternberg, who we've heard about lots of, reclassified it into its own distinct genus. Charles named it Parksosaurus after all the hard work that William Park put into the discovery. Now, the really cool thing about this is, and I thought I wrote this down, but I don't really see it. Parksosaurus wireni is named after this gentleman named Warren, who was a really big geologist in Canada. So it's really cool to see a dinosaur that has 2 Canadian names. I think that's a really cool aspect. It was found in Alberta in the Dinosaur Canyon Formation, with some other relatives possibly being found in Montana. We're not entirely sure. At the time of its discovery, all that we found was just a skull and some post-cranial remains. So postcranial means anything behind the head. As of today, we found an additional 14 different individuals, with most of them helping to uncover more about it. We're not entirely, again, it's kind of tough because when you keep finding the same bones, it doesn't tell you more about the dinosaur. It just tells you the same thing you already know. But sometimes you find little cool things. So for the most part, they help, but sometimes they don't. In the same areas where Parksosaurus was found, we also found local giants like Tyrannosaurus rex and Edmontosaurus, which we talked about Edmontosaurus in a previous episode, so check that one out. This paints a picture of a little dinosaur in a big, big world. When you have giants like these two walking around, it doesn't help to be, well, it could have been up to 6 feet tall. It also could have been just 3 feet tall. There's a big difference there. It lived 76 to 66 million years ago. Again, a big range because we're not entirely sure. Again, paleontology is guesswork. Some websites said 70 million. Some websites just said 66. I take the highest one I find. I take the lowest one I find. I just say 76 to 66 million years ago. We're going to hope for the best. Now, Parksosaurus was about 2 to 3 meters or 6 to 10 feet in length and could have a max, and at max height, could have climbed towards 6 feet tall. But, as you can see here, this one, Justin's not that small, so he's quite a bit larger than this one. That one's a little more accurate, but still a little shorter. They have a third one I couldn't get from Wikipedia. It just looked really bad, but it shows a dinosaur about the same height as me almost, so about 6'2". It really depended on which bones you're looking at and which speculations. When you find a leg bone, you can think, hey, maybe this is just part of it. Maybe this is an offspring. Maybe it's a juvenile. It really need to see the whole dinosaur to make sense. So for the most part, we think 2 to 3 meters or 6 to 10 feet in length. At max, could have been 6 feet tall. The average weight's really hard to guess because when you're just looking at bones and dirt and rocks, you can't really guess much. But we think, and we being paleontologists, which I myself am not a paleontologist, but I wish I was, put the max weight from 20 to 50 kilos, which is approximately 44 to 110 pounds. So a good size. To me, that's not a small dinosaur. I know people who are smaller than that. So to me, it's a big animal. Parksosaurus was a slender dinosaur with a long tail to help for balance. Again, long tails really help. When you look at Parksosaurus, you can kind of see its tail makes up about a third, or maybe a third, or like almost a half of the body length. And that's it's not a very big dinosaur. We know, looking at the skull, that it had really big eyes, which can let it see a lot, all kinds of stuff. When you have big eyes, you can see both predator and prey. It helps with movement, and usually, sometimes it's not true, but eye size coincides with brain size. It's not entirely proven because ostriches are pretty dumb, and they have huge eyes. It had a pointed snout that would allow it to crop low-hanging vegetation, fruits, and maybe even some water plants. And the reason why I say maybe even some water plants is because where we found the fossils at the time would have been floodplains, kind of like little swampy forests. So kind of the same area where they would fill a niche or a role that they could crop small vegetation. Now, with it being relatively small when compared to the other giants at the time, it was probably able to avoid most of the large predators, because when you're that small, nothing's really going to bother with you. I catch my breath, sorry. Looking at even like adult carnivores like Tyrannosaurus rex and Albertosaurus, which we talked about Albertosaurus as well on the first episode, they wouldn't even bother trying to catch it because you're not big enough. It's not worth the fight. You're expending more calories chasing this thing around than you are actually eating it. But there were some small killers at the time, and they were things like troodonts and others in that family, small raptors, that would have been more than a match for the speedy little herbivore. Now, when you look at Parksosaurus and Thescelosaurus, it really shows that they fill the niche, a really cool niche. When you look at dinosaurs, like the most part, you have stuff like little ceratopsians. You have flying reptiles like pterodactyl. You have marine reptiles. You have all kinds of really cool dinosaurs that filled all kinds of niches. And it blows me away that you had all these dinosaurs in the same area. That's like having, think about it. It's like having small deer with elephants. I mean, there are, like India has that, but these things are even bigger, and that's the wild thing too. So to see this, that they filled the niche for small herbivores that wasn't filled is amazing. At the time, hadrosaurs and ceratopsians were the #1 herbivore. Sauropods were still there, kind of. They weren't doing too well towards the end. And like Hadrosaurs and Ceratopsians just filled niches that worked. They were big, they could defend themselves, it worked out. But having these two families that were dominant at the time, and still having this little non-hadrosaurid, and like, the fact that it's non-hadrosaurid also means that it's not related to any hadrosaurs. It's almost like its own dinosaur, which is really cool. It was related to Thelaskelesaurus and Hispiosdontosaurus, something like that. Sorry, I should have wrote it down. It's on my other notes, but I didn't put it into this. But again, like, it's a dinosaur. It's all on its own. It doesn't have huge relatives. It's just this little guy doing his best. So yeah, it's really cool to see these little critters like Parksosaurus surviving late into the dinosaur age. Now, with that being said, we don't really have much else to talk about this thing. We've only ever found 14 individuals. They haven't been complete skeletons, so it's really tough. So I really hope this week I haven't been a dino snore. I'm working on my dinosaur puns. And next week, we're going to talk about Prosaurolophus. So not Parasaurolophus, Prosaurolophus. And we'll be digging up all the cool facts with that. So I even tried to draw a little man with a shovel, but it looks like he's impaling himself, so I'm just not going to even bother showing it. With that, though, my name's Eldin, and I hope you really enjoyed today. We talked about Parksosaurus, I said Dino Snore, and I hope you had a great time. So we'll catch you next time. You've been watching Dino, only on Riot Radio, live from Media Hub.